Are you looking for that perfect guide that is going to tell you everything that you need to know about preparedness? Well, then, my friends, you are lucky and in the right place. Today, we are going to talk about the one resource that I have found that answers, I would argue, 90% of my prepping questions. Welcome back to Preparedness, where we talk about all things prepping and self-sufficiency. And if you are leaning towards that self-sufficiency idea, then today's episode is going to be perfect. Today, we're going to talk about 5 things that I love about this manual and why I think it could be useful for you. So I am a reader and a researcher. It is my natural temperament, and it is something that I've been trained to do as a historian. And when I got into the prepping space, I read every book I could find on the subject. But one of the things that felt kind of stressful was figuring out, how do I actually store enough supplies for an emergency situation? How long do I store things? How much do I need? What kind of advice should I be following? And I found one of the best guides in a very unlikely place, and that is from a preparedness manual that is kind of put out by the Latter-day Saints, or the Mormons. And their philosophy is that if you can take care of yourself and your family in an emergency situation, then you will be able to better provide for the community around you. And I really kind of like that philosophy, even though I don't share the Mormon faith, and that is not necessarily my philosophical view. Their preparedness manual is absolutely one of the most comprehensive guides I have ever found on the subject of preparedness. Here's the warning, guys. If you are just starting this journey, please, please, please download this as an interesting read, but do not try to take all of the steps. It will completely overwhelm you. This, again, is one of the most comprehensive guides I have ever found, and it is really designed with the idea that you are going to live pretty much self-sufficiently for a year. However, if you are one of my preppers who maybe has been in this kind of lifestyle for a little bit, or you're really interested in just diving deep and asking yourself some of the hard questions like, what would it look like to prep for a year of not going to the store, then this guide is absolutely something that you should take a look at. And if, like me, you absolutely love a good checklist with a list of things that you could be thinking about purchasing, then this is for you. Go ahead and go right now and download this PDF guide. So my favorite things about this guide are the things that I kind of want to highlight today. The first one is it provides one of the best discussions I've ever heard on how much food you need to store for each person in your family. It includes calculations of how many pounds of grains you need, how many pounds of beans you need. It talks about cooking oil and kind of those fats that you are going to require in your diet if you want to move forward in a healthy way after you're not shopping at the store. It covers things like natural sweeteners like honey and salt, and pretty much every basic cooking supply that you could need to help prepare your family in an emergency situation. When you look at these numbers, it is going to be overwhelming. I will just tell you, I found this guide probably about a year into my preparedness journey, and I couldn't even fathom having this much food on hand. And while my husband and I haven't gotten completely a year's supply, we are definitely well on our way using these types of calculations, which I think are really useful because it just gives you a foundation of things to think about and kind of what you should be storing for your family. The second thing that I absolutely love about this guide is that it provides a comprehensive list of every item that you could possibly imagine to store for prepping. It has everything from food supplies to clothing to basic tools. The idea really is that you can be almost self-sufficient if you have all of these things. Now, again, please hear me very clearly. I do not necessarily recommend that everyone who is watching this video needs to go out and get all of these supplies. But I do think that reading through it can give you some ideas of things that maybe you haven't thought of before that you would want to have in an emergency situation if you couldn't run out to Walmart or have Amazon delivered to your door. The third thing I love about this manual is that it talks a lot about food preservation and safe ways to store food for long-term emergencies. We haven't really gone super deep into that on this channel, but in here it has tons of information on how to store food in buckets and Mylar bags, how to reduce moisture content so that your food is safe to consume if you are storing it for a long period of time, and then you actually need to use it for emergency situations. And I learned a lot from just reading through this guide and understanding some of the different things that you could do to keep food safe. So I think it also offers great ideas on how to accomplish that. The fourth thing I like is that the guide really asks you a lot of questions about what you are actually preparing for and how you want to be prepared for certain kinds of emergencies. And we've talked about that in other videos on this channel, but understanding what you're preparing for can really help kind of give you a foundation for the types of things that you would need for a likely scenario in your area. And the fifth thing that I love about this guide is that it specifically talks about things to do to prepare if you live in a urban or suburban type of setting. It talks about some of the challenges that we will face potentially if there is a significant event that could kind of erode the normal rule of law. And so I think it just, again, opens up the conversation, gives you some ideas on things that you could be thinking about, talking with your family about, and preparing for. So for those of you who are like, yes, Laura, please give me that resource, just click the link below, download your free PDF guide with this manual that is going to talk about everything you could possibly imagine from a prepping kind of standpoint. If the rest of you are like, holy cow, that is not what I'm looking for, don't panic and just go watch my video on how to prepare for any emergency up to 72 hours. That is a fabulous baseline and a great place to start. Remember, let's be prepared, not scared.